Once you've set up calendars for your project and any special work schedules, it's time to get into the specifics of identifying working and non-working days and times. You also have to set a few project calendar options so project knows how to convert durations to hours of work. So on the Project tab, click Change Working Time. In this case, the calendar we want to work on is already here, Office Relo, and it's the project calendar. Now, one thing to look at before we get started is this calendar. You can see that working days are white cells, and the non-working days are gray cells. You can also see the cell you select, the working times appear on the right side of the dialog box. Well, the first thing to do is to go to the Work Weeks tab. Work weeks are basically the schedules that people follow week after week. You can see here there's a default work week. The start and finish is set to NA, and that means it applies to all dates. When I click Details, the details for default shows up so I know which work week I'm working on. In this case, we're going to set Friday to a non-working day. So click that day, and then choose the option Set Days to Non-Working Time. And that sets Friday to non-working. But to make up for that, we're going to actually make Monday through Thursday a little bit longer. So can drag over Monday through Thursday, and in this case, choose the third option, Set Days to these specific working times. And when I do that, you can see that the times are editable. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to lengthen the day. I'm going to have it finish at 6 p.m. And I can type 6, and if I go to another cell, project fills in 6 p.m. because that's later than the 1 p.m. in the From box. If for some reason you wanted to delete a row, just drag over the row and then press Delete. But in this case, the working times are fine, so I just click OK. This work week is set to 8 to 6, Monday through Thursday, with an hour for lunch. So that's 36 work hours. And that means there's one other thing that we're going to have to do, and that's to set some calendar options. So click OK to close the Change Working Time dialog box. Then go to the File tab and click Options. So we go to the Schedule category. And the thing that we have to do is we have to match the hours per day, the hours per week, and the days per month. That way, project knows how to convert duration to work hours. Well, in this case, the hours per day is set to 8, and right now we've got work days that go from 8 to 6 with an hour for lunch, so that's 9 hours. Type that in the hours per day box. And the work week is only 36 hours, so we have to change that to 36. And days per month is an estimate of the number of working days in each month. So in this case, we're working Monday through Thursday, so we'll change that to 16. The default start time box is for tasks that don't have predecessors. So basically that's fine because it's set to the beginning of our standard workday of 8 to 6. But the default end time isn't, so we have to change that. And we make that 6 p.m. Now that the options are set, close the Project Options dialog box by clicking OK. Now you can actually set up additional work weeks. So, for example, if you have an alternate schedule, maybe different weeks in the summer. And to do that, go back to the Change Working Time dialog box. In this case, go to the Work Weeks tab and click a blank cell. We can type Summer of 2014. In this case, the work week only applies for a specific date range, so we have to put the start and finish in. So we'll start in June of 2014, and we'll finish at the end of August. And basically, you set up the working and non-working times for that work week just as we did before for the default, so you would click Details and make whatever settings you want. Now, there's one other thing you can do with calendars, and that's to create exceptions. Exceptions are usually non-working times, so things like for a project, it might be holidays. If it's a resource calendar, it could be somebody's vacation. But you can actually have special work times in exceptions as well. In this case, we're going to create a holiday for the 4th of July. So I'll name it July 4th. And I have to go in and create the start and finish dates. So in this case, I'm going to select July 3rd as the start because we're going to do a long weekend. And then the finish is Friday, July 4th. When I click Details, you can see Project automatically selects the non-working option because most exceptions are non-working. So in this case, it's perfectly fine. However, you can actually create exceptions for working times. One of the things you have to keep in mind about exceptions, especially if they're longer exceptions, is that every day has to be the same. It either has to be non-working time or it has to be the same working times. So you could do that for factory maintenance where, no one works for 2 weeks while the factory is closed. In this case, the non-working is fine, so I click OK, and we have an exception. There's another type of exception, and that's one that recurs. So let's say that there's a quarterly meeting. Well, I'm going to name that, and I'll give it a start date. We'll choose January 6, 2014. And in this case, when I click Details, we go to the Recurrence Pattern section. In this case, we're going to make it a monthly meeting. And you can actually choose a specific day of the month, or you can say something like the first Friday. It's a quarterly meeting, so in this case, it's going to be every 3 months. Now, the start date is already filled in, but you can specify how many occurrences, or you can do an end date. So for example, in this case, I'm going to put in 12 occurrences and then click OK. And you can see that Project calculates the finish date. One of the other things to notice is that non-standard working times actually show up in this calendar with kind of a light shaded background and an underline. And so that's how you can tell days that are set to non-standard times. But our calendar work is done. So just click OK to close the Change Working Time dialog box. When you set up working and non-working days and times for your project and resources, Project can calculate a more accurate and realistic schedule.